Thanks for hanging with us all week. We're continuing to talk about Joseph. Our verse from Romans 14:12 says, "So then each of us shall give an account of himself to God." So Joseph has put his brothers in prison for 3 days, accusing them of being spies. In Genesis 42:18, then Joseph said to them the third day, "Do this and live, for I fear God. If you are honest men, let one of your brothers be confined to your prison house. But you go and carry grain for the famine of your houses, and bring your youngest brother to me, so your words will be verified, and you shall not die." And they did so. Now, it's very obvious now that Joseph wants to see his younger brother, and has come up with a foolproof plan to ensure that he does without them knowing who he is. But what follows is very shocking for me to read. Down in verse 21 it says, "Then they said to one another," talking about Joseph's brothers, "We are truly guilty concerning our brother. For we saw the anguish of his soul when he pleaded with us, and when we would not hear. Therefore this distress has come upon us." And Reuben answered them and said, "Did I not speak to you, saying, 'Do not sin against the boy,' and you would not listen? Therefore, behold, his blood is now required of us." But they did not know that Joseph understood them, for he spoke to them through an interpreter, and he turned himself away from them and wept. You know, what they were discussing had happened 20 years ago. They were talking about it as though it had happened yesterday. Obviously, they had been carrying around the guilt of what they had done, and no amount of time could wipe away the memory of what they had done to Joseph. They were now looking at the trouble that they were facing in direct relation to what had happened over 2 decades ago. They knew what they did was wrong, and they knew it deserved consequences. They were having the discussion in front of Joseph, but were unaware of his ability to speak their language or who he even was. It was too much for Joseph, so he turned away and wept. You know, there's no pain that compares with the pain that comes from family members. After 20 years, Joseph is finally seeing some remorse from his brothers and admission of guilt for what they had done to him. You know, whether someone has hurt you or whether you've hurt someone, don't carry it around and not deal with it. It will eat you up inside, and it will affect your life and your relationships. If you can't straighten it out with the other person because they're unforgiving or they refuse to talk or maybe they're deceased, then you need to straighten it out with God and allow Him to deal with them. Joseph's brothers did realize that they were accountable to God for what they had done to Joseph, and even though they thought that they would never see Joseph again, they still could not forget what they had done to him. The same principle holds true for us in that we are accountable to God, no matter what, for what we do to people and to how we treat them. That should give us 2 little things to do. Number 1, when we've hurt people, when we've done wrong, we need to confess it, we need to deal with it. Number 2, we need to walk in the fear of the Lord, remembering that how we treat other people and the things we do to them, we're going to have to answer one day to Almighty God. God bless you. I hope you have a great weekend. I hope you tune in for the music and the videos that we have for you this weekend at Swordbox. Walls fall down.